This is peak hour Lagos, where getting from point A to B can be an adventure. A slow, noisy, and fume-filled one. But in the same city, a gradual revolution is taking shape on its waters. Faster, greener, much quieter. A new urban mobility beckons. But how ready is it to tackle the city's notorious traffic and pollution woes?
Can't get rid of traffic in Lagos because the more people keep coming, but we must give people options. And it's supposed to give Lagosians options, clean, efficient options of being able to get from point A to point B.
Damilola Emmanuel sits at the helm of the Lagos State Waterways Authority, an office he's held long enough to know that commuters are ready for a shift.
Lagos has extensively developed its road transportation. It's done a lot of work with the rail transportation. And the missing part in all of this is the water transportation aspect. So we have an integrated transportation system. We've had minimal service with the water transportation over the last 30 to 40 years. But now it's to have a fully developed water transportation system that is part of an integrated transportation system for Lagos. The time saving alone, is a major game changer for anyone who wants to be more productive with their day, whether it be their personal lives or their business lives. So for us, it's going to be a lot of sensitization, a lot of advocacy. We are not saying it's going to be a walk in the park, but we definitely know that Lagosians will jump on this bandwagon once they get on it.
Last October, the Lagos State government announced the Omi Eco Electric Ferry Initiative, a €410 million investment into its water transportation space in partnership with the Agency for French Development, the European Investment Bank, and the European Union. This project represents a cleaner, smarter, more efficient system for a modern, sustainable Lagos.
The AFD and the EIB are bringing a loan to the table. AFD is 130 million euros. EIB is 170 million euros, bringing it up to 300. The EU is giving the largest grant they've ever given to any project anywhere in the world. I mean, why choose Lagos? It definitely shows you that they've seen that this is a very viable project. And there is counterpart funding from the state government of 40 million euros. And then there's a 10 million euros, which we believe the private sector would also contribute to be able to make money back from the sector. So things like investing in the ITS system, the ticketing system, and then getting a percentage back of every ticket. We believe that the private sector will get involved. So this is the whole investment portfolio.
It is an easy sell. A sizable investment for a project that could reduce Lagos's transportation bottlenecks while also impacting the environment sustainably. But what is the project's status quo? And how soon can Lagosians begin to benefit from this investment?
Well, right now, the first step, of course, was to recruit personnel to be able to ensure that the project could be fully implemented because the existing agency, LASWA, lacked some capacity. And that's the first step. The second step was then to bring on 2 consultants who would determine the entire scope of work. They will be the one to draft the terms of references, put out the bids once they settle into work. So we're at the stage of recruiting those consultants now, which will be done by the end of the first quarter. And then from the second quarter into the third quarter is then the opening of the bids for all the different components of the project. Remember, it's a 5-year project. So we have to ensure that there's a lot of, meet our timelines. Sometimes will some things extend, yes. But we have to make sure that within the 5 years, maximum, let's say 6 years, the project is fully implemented. So we're at that stage where the consultants who will determine entire terms of reference and be able to open up the bids.
The Omi Eco project promises key features that include at least 70 hybrid electric ferries, 25 upgraded jetty terminals, and 140 kilometers of dredged and channelized routes to reduce commute time. But while the entire project timeline spans 5 to 6 years, with a 2 to 3 year first phase, one of its local partners and private operators says there is no better time than now, as it pilots the first 30-passenger 100% electric ferry, the e-Omi Bus.
When we came into the space, we saw the state of the existing ferries that were in operation. A lot of those ferries were very artisanal. There were numerous accidents annually, and from our standpoint, what we sought out to do was, first of all, try and address the type of ferries that are moving on our waterways, right? We had looked at the possibility of importing these boats from other climes, and then we found out we could actually build these boats here, whilst realizing that fossil fuel propulsion, yes, we built a good boat, a safe boat, but it's running on fossil fuel. But now subsidy has been taken off, but now that fossil fuel is making that form of transportation even more expensive and to a large extent unhealthy. Then we should also consider trying to improve on that. And I think the question is, where do we go next?
As at the time of filming this discussion, the next step was the prototype pilot phase, with full rollout plans for Q4 2026. I wanted to understand the current phase experientially, and so I joined a ride on the electric ferry to see for myself and also get some passenger reviews.
For me, I think the first thing is the convenience, the comfort, and the peace that comes with you riding in this kind of sustainable transport system. So I think the society needs to embrace this new trend.
I think this is the fastest means of transportation so far. It's very, very convenient and very, very safe to travel with.
While safety, time management, and environmental sustainability boxes are ticked with this ferry, affordability for its end users will be the ultimate litmus test for its full adoption.
If we were to run it as a purely commercial venture, as a private sector driven commercial venture, it will not be profitable at all. So we need to try and see how we find that balance, whereby the state is able to provide sustainable, affordable transportation for the public, as they have done with the rail, with the Blue Line and the other rail lines that are coming up. First things first is to provide a safe, reliable service, and then we can sort of work out the cost and profitability. And I think we're almost there.
The petrol has always been there, but now with the removal of fuel subsidy, of course, it's posed a challenge, which is why this model solution of ensuring that we can have, reduction in reduction in carbon emissions through the electric ferries is a no-brainer and will be probably the best thing that's happened for Lagos.
As one of the local transportation transition partners on the Omi Eco project, Bode says this has also been a great avenue to drive the capabilities and ethos of homegrown solutions.
There are obviously ferry designs, but I think for us, one of the things is just to push that built in Nigeria ethos to say, look, whilst this is a project that is being driven by the state government, supported by the AFD, it's important to let them know that in terms of the infrastructure and capabilities, a lot of what they should be financing should be homegrown.
Now, Captain Marine went into this project in collaboration with Explorer Energy Technologies. Why specifically this partnership?
That we could build a world-class safe boat was not in question. So the question was now, okay, which OEM would we partner with for the propulsion system? The boats that we initially built were powered by Yamaha engines, which were readily available locally through CFAO, so there wasn't much to do that. But there weren't any electric engines. So when Exploma came along, they were at the forefront in terms of marine electric propulsion. They had already more or less were transitioning from EVs into marine, and I think the whole world knows who leads in EV technology. It's the Chinese. It's China, right? And they were also really looking to branch out of Shanghai, where they're based, into other parts of the world. And so I'd say it was just fate. I think they just brought us together, and we saw an opportunity for us to work together.
To get a clearer sense of the work being done in building these ferries, my next stop was the Cavitin GRP yard at the Naval Dockyard in Lagos.
When you build the mold and you set it, then you actually now can start making different hulls out of it.
Following a decision on the boat's shape, building the mold is a critical next step, which also involves applying the wax, resin, and mat. The mat is particularly layered to strengthen reinforcement for necessary shock absorption. The mold, in essence, births the hull. From mold to hull, the ferry begins to take shape.
Which is where the engineering comes in, and like the design comes in. Because if it's not symmetrical, especially the V-hull, if you put it in the water, it's just gonna...
A look at the deck and cabin building process is next. Built as separate molds that are then put together afterwards, as this helps to manage quality and aid the assembly process. There is also an eco-friendly premise attached to this process.
One of the major things about sustainability and eco-friendliness is about how we minimize our wastes and our pressure on all the resources that we have. So, like I said, because we have this season components, so we can almost manage the materials we use almost to the T. I can tell you now this will consume 2 drums of resin, and that will consume 3, and that will consume 4, and helps us keep that wastage level very low.
In a bid to electrify Lagos's waterways, safety and security will be this project's ultimate crowning glory. A priority all players agree on.
First of all, I have to give commendation to LASWA, to Lagos State, right, in terms of their efforts in terms of promoting safety on Lagos waterways. Yes, there have been 1 or 2 unfortunate incidences of late, but I think generally LASWA is sort of gold standard when it comes to promoting safety in terms of using your life jackets, especially if you're not able to swim. But they've been able to imbibe that into the culture.
We had also moved beyond just the man-made means of being able to respond to emergencies. The state government has set up the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa, a waterways monitoring and data management center, where we now monitor our waterways through technology. So from my seat there, I can open up my iPad and I can simply identify different parts on the waterways where we have a lot of traffic and look at what the movement is around that area and see what's going on around that area. So that even if there's any incident as well, you can as well flag up the control room, who can then notify the relevant search and rescue agencies to swing into action.
On these waters, a quiet revolution is underway. One that is redefining what it means to move, breathe, and thrive in Africa's megacity. Will Lagos heed its call? Abi Owolawi for Arise News.